Hey everybody, welcome into the Volquest Mailbag Podcast every Thursday right here at volquest.com and on the Volquest YouTube channel. If you're watching us, please like this video, hit subscribe to this channel if you would be so kind. And don't forget a late Christmas gift. I say late, Christmas is still a couple weeks away, but you want
last minute Christmas gift.
You got $10 for a Volquest.com subscription would be a great Christmas gift. Put in that stocking for any Tennessee fan in your life, and that's offered right now. Volquest.com, $10 for a 1-year subscription. I'm Eric Kane with Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, and Rob Lewis. Got plenty to discuss. We'll go ahead and jump in first with Traders Joe. I like the screen name there. He's got a couple. Name one player on both sides of the football that can benefit the most from bowl practices. Rob, you want to lead us off here?
I mean, just any young kid that hasn't played a lot, any of those wide receivers, especially with with Tillman, I don't know if he's announced yet, but with him looking unlikely to play, Nimrod, Webb, and Squirrels played a lot, so I wouldn't really throw him in there as somebody that's going to benefit a ton. And I don't know, I think Tyree West has played enough to where it's not like 15 bowl practice is going to be a new thing for him, but he's one of those guys that has. You could see taking a little bit of a leap when it stops being you're getting ready for a game, you're getting ready for a game, and now you got a couple of weeks just to work on to dial it back and work on fundamentals. So I think there'll be a lot of guys that benefit. I wouldn't say there's just a couple from both sides of the ball, but I would pinpoint a couple of freshman wide receivers, and West or even Joshua Josephs, even though he's played a bunch, when you can. Again, just when it's not about getting ready for the next game and you can dial it back, I would always go to a freshman in these situations.
I will add the one guy that to me that sticks out above all the rest, Hubbard, is Addison Nichols, because I think he's got to use this as the springboard to spring and the springboard to being one of those guards or the guard opposite, the Jerome Carvin spot heading into next season. You look at kind of where they're at. Offensive line wise, tackle, it's still a coin flip. Everybody's going to project, Mincy and Crawford to play next year. But to me, it's still a coin flip, especially if Tennessee can get better there. But Cooper's your starting center. Spraggs is your starting right guard. Addison Nichols has a chance to be your starting left guard. To me, it all starts with these practices.
Well, and I think the question is, does the poster mean guys who can benefit them for next year? Or, is a guy who can benefit himself to get ready for the bowl game, to help in the bowl game? It's two different questions. If you're talking about the bowl game, I think the 3 weeks are probably most important for Joe Milton to continue to get settled in, because he had basically 4 days to get ready as the starter. Here's a chance for him to work on his chemistry with continued chemistry with the wide receivers. But if you're talking about long term, then I think you can. There's a dozen guys who can benefit from some things long term. All over, every position. I think Elijah Herring and Caleb Perry. I think it's a great opportunity for them this bowl game, and you can go position by position with a bunch of young guys like that.
We'll go one more here from Trader Joe's. Under or over 1.5 commits added to this class, not including transfers.
1.5. It's a tough number. I think Tennessee's got a chance to add Elijah Davis. I think they've got a chance to land Arian Carter. And then obviously it sounds like Dejon Lafitte, who's toyed with coming in here a few times, could potentially OV here next weekend. And then we'll see what Tavion Gadsden does. Rodney Garner said, hey, I'm going to come by and see you, going home. Kid's committed to Florida State, and the kid didn't say no. So he's obviously still listening to G. Now, is this just kind of like, he's going to let him come in there and hang out with him for a little bit and, so on and so forth? Maybe. But I think a lot of it depends on kind of just where it goes. Right now, I would lean – I'm going to lean over here. I just think that somehow they get 2 in the next couple of weeks. But I think it's really close. It's either going to be 1 or 2. I think 1 is a definite. 2 is more up in the air, but I would lean to.
I think
I look forward to the. I was just saying, I look forward to the Twitter meme, Hubbard.
I think the question is going to be, what do they do with Larry Johnson III, the junior college offensive lineman that Glenn Ellerby offered last Saturday? Is that an offer and then you get him here and you decide you don't want him? Is that an offer you get him here and you're really going to go hard and try to get him done? He likes Glenn Ellerby's from Savannah, Georgia. I'll be curious to see how hard Tennessee pushes next week for Larry Johnson III when he visits, because he will visit. He's playing in his championship game next Wednesday, and then he will visit Maryland and then come visit Tennessee on Friday, Saturday to close things out. I don't know where exactly Tennessee is. I know he's feeling Tennessee a lot after Glenn Ellerby came by and watched his semifinal game and then visited with him afterwards. So that would be one that would be interesting to see kind of where Tennessee is after the visit.
And I'm always interested to kind of see, like, depending on the day, like, are they in the mood where we just need a body, like, let's say specifically for the tackle Hubbard, we need a tackle body, or we don't need to take a body, we need to take a quality body. I mean, it literally changes all the time. So to me, that would be the biggest question I've got. What do they think of him? And then two, like, what do they think of him as a player? Like, do they think he can get to the field quick enough? Because if you're bringing in a kid from JUCO, he needs to be expected to play right away. JJ Crawford, now granted, JJ arrived super, super late a year ago, but he never factored in year one. And so, like, I think Tennessee needs somebody that will factor in the fall, don't you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, and again, I don't know where he's at. I know he said when I spoke with him that he and Glenn Ellerby got on the board and talked a lot of hardcore ball. He's a high school qualifier, a little bit of a different scenario, different case out there. He would be somewhere in January. I think with Larry Johnson, I think the bigger question, or one of the big questions I have, Eric, is when they evaluated, is he the best they can get as a big body, or is there a guy in the transfer portal as a big body that they feel more comfortable with, or they think is a better fit for them, or a little bit more of a sure thing, if you will? That could factor into where things are with Larry Johnson III as well.
Yeah, and of course there's a little bit more time before the early signing period, so a chance to potentially get somebody to come in via the transfer portal and take a look at them in person and kind of see what they're about. And maybe that'll dictate, what you do with Larry Johnson III. So we will see. Athrone wants to know, most likely wide receiver transfer portal guy you go after. You just mentioned Rawad Davis. Is there, O'Keefe from UCF? If there's some other wide receivers in the portal that Tennessee is for sure going to have some interest in?
Well, Austin, they'll go after they'll at least explore the kid from Oregon to see if he has any interest and kind of see where that's at, I would think. Also, who else goes in the portal, in the next couple of weeks? Where do you feel like you are after a week or so of bowl practice? Do you feel the same that you got to have a guy? I mean, that's what fans, and I'm not picking on fans in the least. I get it. Guy goes in, Tennessee got interest, black and white question. There's a million moving parts going on in everything right now with the transfer portal. I mean, just a lot of moving parts. It's not as black and white as everybody wants it to be, and that's just the reality of it.
Well, and I still maintain, if you're not figuring out how to get in contact with a kid before he goes in, whether it be through one of your players or whatever, I think that you're behind the eight ball. It doesn't mean you can't get them, but like I'm telling you, a lot of these kids kind of know where they're going. A lot of the good ones, anyway, know where they're going when they hit the portal or have an idea of where they're going. The other person you have to think about with wide receiver is Lovett from Missouri. I think that's another one that they look at to try to get him here for a visit sometime this month. But yeah, I mean, clearly Tennessee's trying to add a wide out, and most likely a slot guy with Deshaun or with the Jalen Hyatt headed off to the NFL.
Let's go hitter here. HITR says, is this where all the thought-provoking questions Eric Kane ignores? My response to that would be ask better questions. J Moore 1718 says, wants to know about Jaheim Bell. He went in the portal a couple days ago. Obviously, when you just think about what he can do, his versatility, running back, tight end, how Beamer and them at South Carolina use him, endless possibilities in this Tennessee offense. But is there any type of scenario where Jaheim Bell gets interest from Tennessee?
I mean, I guess there's a possibility. It just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of traction there based off people I've spoke to. Now, again, that doesn't mean there's not, but just based off people I've spoke to, it doesn't seem like there's much going on there.
Yeah, and I think
he's sitting mean tweets. He's sitting mean tweets over.
I think he's a guy who could ultimately end up back. Would not shock me if he ends up back at South Carolina once South Carolina hires an OC. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't know what their offense is going to be. You get an offensive coordinator in there. If you're Shane Beamer in short order here, you got a chance to probably to at least try to recruit him back. I'm not saying he absolutely goes back, but, I think that South Carolina will get back in play potentially to keep him once an offensive coordinator is in place at South Carolina, if they get that done in relatively short order. I'm not saying he's definitely coming back, but I think he would certainly be recruited hard by South Carolina to come back, and we'll see what happens with the tractions of other schools out there. Of course, the NIL will factor in there as well. There again, multiple variables, multiple layers of things going on with guys in the portal.
Here's another question. I've seen this all over the board, on social media and stuff. What happens if Joe Milton really struggles in this football game, in your opinion? I mean, I know anything can happen, but the question is, if Joe struggles in this game, are they going to go to the portal to get a quarterback? And we continue to say it's going to be difficult to get a quarterback from the portal. But I guess, how would you answer that question? What happens? What's Tennessee's mindset if Joe Milton struggles in this football game?
I would think we got some work to do, before spring practice and in spring. I mean, by the time the bowl game rolls around and we know what he looks like, I mean, any quarterback that you care about is going to have made a decision. I mean, don't you guys think? I mean,
yeah, that's why, on Wednesday on the message board, somebody kept asking about quarterback, and I said, guys, do I think they'll add one? I do, but that's based off the fact that I have a hard time seeing Joe Milton, Nico Iamaleava, and Taven Jackson all here when spring practice ends. Now, we know Nico ain't going anywhere. But the other two, I mean, are all possibilities. If Joe struggles, or if Taven sees that the path to the field is going to be way more difficult, then one of those could lead. Tennessee can't go into the season with two scholarship guys and Gaston Moore. Like, they just can't. And now the problem is kind of quarterback can you get, Hubs? Like, who can you get to buy into competing, but likely isn't going to be the guy, and then, if you go with the other route, you could also upset the apple cart, with the younger guys. If you try to go and get, a Sam Hartman right now, or, whoever. So, I mean, like, it's one of those kind of double-edged swords. And I think how you handle it, there will be a trickle-down effect one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I think it's going to be hard to get one, certainly of the ilk that fans want, right? A guy to come in and you can come in and be the guy or whatever. I just don't see that. I mean, if they end up with a guy, I think it's more of a developmental guy who's got some talent that is going to compete and would just be another body in the room that's better than your third team body that you would have. That's kind of the way I see it right now. Again, you got no idea. I mean, there's no telling what happens after a bowl game. Okay. I mean, there's no telling what happens at Tennessee. There's no telling what happens around the country. That's one of the things. And I think this is a question later on in here. I don't know if we'll get to it, but a lot of people forget they think the portal closes this week. The portal's open. You can go in the portal up until mid-January. So, I mean, all kinds of stuff can happen. Somebody can get their feelings hurt. Somebody could suddenly ask for a bunch of NIL money and not get what they want out of that. And then all of a sudden their feelings are hurt. They're looking to leave, or this or that. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and mid-January with the transfer portal at all positions, not just quarterback.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. I mean, there'll be players, I think, on Tennessee's team that could end up going to the portal, after the bowl game. They get in there and see kind of where things go. And at the quarterback spot, there's all that chatter about Drake May. I don't know if Drake May would go before or after a bowl game, but I mean, I think that ultimately there's going to be some movement post bowl game before, as you said, it closes.
I was just saying, how great would it be, Hubbard, if JT Daniels transferred in, didn't like what happened in spring practice, and transferred to his sixth school in five? That would be it.
I think the sixth school would be a transfer down, though. I do think he would. It
would still be fantastic.
You're enthralled by JT Daniels and that tweet.
He's a regular.
He's a regular. We love our regulars. We love our regulars. It's fantastic. That's the tweet of the week.
Kind of on that note, and how this window is, there will be another transfer portal window later in the spring. Houdat Vol wants to know, is this portion of the transfer portal more important, since the next round will be players who likely can't crack the starting rotation?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I think the only exception could be at a couple positions where somebody could make an immediate impact as an incoming midterm enrollee. Okay. if you have, if somebody comes in at running back and is a really good, just jumps off the page, right? And there's not many of these happen, but if somebody comes in January as a running back, and there's a running back who's played a lot of snaps, and he comes out of spring practice going, I'm not gonna split time with this guy, right? Then maybe that guy looks at potentially going, but I think the more talented players are in the wintertime by nature, are in the wintertime transfer portal, not the springtime transfer portal.
The other caveat there that I think you could see is, like, let's say a wide receiver, goes through spring, just doesn't feel like he and the quarterback mesh, doesn't work, or a new offensive coordinator just doesn't mesh with him, or a team, hires a new person and they go, we're not crazy about the guy we have on our roster, and the two sides decide to kind of part ways with one another. I do think that there's still going to be quality there. I just think it's more minute.
Smaller number.
CN31, Matthews and Nico get mentioned a lot on these podcasts as potential impact guys for next year. Anyone else that stands out that the staff is itching to get on campus and see if they can contribute right away?
Yeah, Cam Selden, David Hobbs, Nathan Laycock, especially Selden. That one comes to mind. How quick can he pick up the offense? How quick can he, pick up? I can't imagine that Cam Selden's done a whole lot of pass pro, in his life. So how quick can he pick those things up?
I think any corner possibility, I think, is a guy, not just Jordan Matthews. I mean, we'll see where Christian Kinder is, and some of, what can they do back there? I think corner is a position you can make an early impact in, and then how do they want to play with Cam Selden as a toy early on? I don't know that he's necessarily going to just immerse himself in, but they may have packages for him to use him in a couple of different ways in this offense moving forward.
And I would say, depending on the portal, Ethan Davis, we got to have some opportunity.
Yeah, it depends on where that shoulder is going to be, and how physical can he be. But yeah, I mean, when you look at where that tight end room is right now, I mean, he's up on the depth chart the moment they issue him, a jersey number and helmet. I mean, because of where they are. Now we'll see what the portal looks like, but certainly that would be another one as well, given the lack of depth there.
I know high school competition is high school competition, but holy crap. Nathan Laycock senior year, was really, really impressive. Big Orange Possum, not questioning Nico's talent at all, but is he going to be physically ready next year? Seems like it'd be ideal for him to get a year in the weight room before he contributes on a regular basis. Rob, I would agree with that completely. I think that's what, sure, everybody wants to play, but ideally, I think that's it's kind of like drafting a quarterback in the first round, though. It's like you got to play him, right? He needs to get bigger. He needs to mature, and that'll come with months and years in a college strength and conditioning program.
He would ideally, he needs to get bigger and stronger, but how many trucks do you see Bryce Young picking up and lifting off people this side of the road? I'm not saying Nico is Bryce Young, but he's not setting any bench press records. If you can play quarterback and sling it, you can play quarterback and sling it.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, Austin. You've been beside Nico. Everybody sees him as real thin. You got to take into account how tall the guy is. He's heavier. He's heavier than you think that he is because he's so tall for the quarterback position. Everybody's like, he weighs 150 pounds. No, add 50 plus pounds to that. He's bigger than you think. He's just taller than most quarterbacks are.
Yeah, he is definitely thicker than you think he is. His legs are thicker than you think than they are. I do think he can add more upper body weight.
Sure, absolutely.
That's where he really can kind of change his body. As he gets into winter workouts like that, I think that's where you'll see him make the most gain is less lower body, more upper body.
But I agree with you, Rob. If you can throw it, you can throw it.
What Peyton Manning looked like when he got, and again, I'm not saying Nico's Peyton Manning.
Yes, you are. That's exactly what you
heard
said.
It here first.
You basically said that he will come in and Bob Kessling will say, what did John Ward say about Peyton Manning?
I heard it was a mixture with Bryce Young and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Manning.
Physically,
Nico Iamaleava.
Physically, what did Peyton Manning look like when he was?
He was a skinny little freshman when he went out on the field at the Rose Bowl in 1994. He needed a lot of weight.
And Nico's going to get in the huddle, and Cooper Mays is going to say, "Shut the up. Call the play." I know it wasn't Kevin Mays, was it? Was that Lehman? Who was that did that?
It was Lehman that told him that in the huddle.
Either way, I'm sure Cooper's heard that story.
Yeah, well, everybody's heard that story. That one's in pretty good lore. That's been published and printed in multiple outlets for multiple years.
Let's go to Burning Mattress 2010. Great handle there. Essentially, it's a loaded question. Want to know what you guys think about other coaches in the SEC. Mark Stoops extension, Billy Napier year 1, Jimbo fiasco, Shane Beamer and everything he's got going on. You guys, what do y'all think about some of the coaches around the league?
I thought Beamer overexceeded expectations this year. Kudos to them for their finish. Florida, I think Florida will be fine. I do. I mean, Florida, it's. I just think you'll be able to pull talent there. I mean, are they going to, I think next year's a critical year, though. He can't be 6-6 next year. Like, he's got to take a step in year 2. Can he get to 8-4 in year 2? And then, hey man, Kentucky's won at a pace they've never won at. I'm all for, kind of doubling down with a guy that's kind of built it and that you've given him time to. $8.6 million from Mark Stoops is still a lot of money. I mean, again, I think he's done a tremendous job, a job no one else has done. That's just a lot of money.
And every time he gets 9 wins, it accelerates. It goes up. I don't know by how much, but he's got the best contract in sports.
He does. I'm interested to see Hubs, what happens with them once they go to the one big, conference and not, the divisions. All of a sudden, he's not going to have that cushy Mississippi State game and some of that cushy schedule he's had. I think the walls could be closing in pretty quick as far as that contract Eric's talking about.
Here's what I think. He's making $8.6 million. Would any other school in the SEC hire him? Like, if they had an opening, would he be one of the top 2 or 3 candidates at any other SEC school? And they're paying him $9 million.
I think he would get hired, Hubs. I do. I think they would hire him. I don't think they'd pay him $8.6 million. I do agree with you on that.
Would he be one of the top? I mean, you think Auburn even thought about calling Mark Stoops?
I don't
think so. If Texas A&M fired Jimbo, would they even think about calling Stoops? I don't think so.
Yeah, I doubt. I mean, I doubt it. Again, his buyouts. He's not easy to get. It's expensive.
I'm not even talking about the buyout. I'm talking about would they think about paying him the same
if it
money?
Costs no money to get him.
Would they? But you had to pay him $9 million, like Kentucky's paying him. Would any other school in the league do that?
I don't know.
No,
I mean,
I do agree.
I don't think so.
Not that kind of money.
And again, his schedule, as you mentioned, what does that look like when they go to the 6-3 model? Louisville's making a hire of Braum. How much does that game become harder? That's been kind of an easy game for Kentucky the last few years. That's been a factor in there as well. So we'll see. I think the thing with Billy Napier, to answer his question quickly, is he's got to get his locker room and his culture right. They had issues down there. They got a lot of people leaving that program, which I'm sure he's happy some of those guys are leaving. They've got to kind of get their locker room the right way. And clearly there's locker room issues at Texas A&M when you look at the number of guys who have left their program, the number of young kids, freshmen who have left there, probably got out over their skis in year 1 in NIL. And how does that, factor back around? And can Jimbo Fisher really step away from his offense and let somebody else do some offensive work or not? So we'll see. I'm with Austin. I think Shane Beamer, they figured something out with Spencer Rattler the last 2 weeks that they couldn't figure out early in the year. But I give him credit. When a lot of people said his team was laying down and quitting on him, that absolutely was not the case. He did a nice job. It's a heck of a close for South Carolina to close with those 2 wins.
If you had told in January of 2021, if you had told, or let's phrase it this way, if you had put odds out that South Carolina and Tennessee would go to bowls in back-to-back years in the first year of the Shane Beamer and Josh Heupel era, what kind of odds would you have been given, and how much money would you have won? Because I'm going to tell you, I think the odds would have been steep, and you would have won a bunch of money. Because I just don't think anybody saw both programs getting to bowls in the first 2 years, and the accelerated rate, 8-4 for South Carolina in year 2 and 10-2 for Tennessee in year 2.
Now, making a bowl game, I mean, 6 wins is not hard, but like 8 to 9 wins and 10 wins for Heupel this year, I'm with you there. But like
with where Tennessee was left at, though, in 2021, and even South Carolina, there was just a lot of doubt and uncertainty over there.
But but it's the proof of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
It's the proof of what the transfer portal can do to you. I mean, you can turn 4 wins into 6 wins, pretty easily if you hit on a couple of transfers. And Spencer Rattler wasn't great this year. He was great at the end of the year, which got them to where they are. And obviously what Hendon Hooker did for Tennessee. It's just proof of what the transfer portal can do for you around the country. And obviously Tennessee benefited it greatly, particularly at the quarterback position. It just changes the outlook of everything at the quarterback spot.
You talked about getting out over your skis a minute ago. How many players that are in the portal right now that were freshmen a year ago or this past season, this fall, got out over their skis with a big NIL deal and things got tough for them when they got in the locker room, or they've tried to cash in a second time? Like, it feels like of all the freshmen going in the portal, that's exactly what happened in most instances. Do you agree?
I think a couple of things. One, I don't think anybody's got any patience. It's you got to have success immediately. If you don't, I'm going to go somewhere else. Two, I think you've got some freshmen who got NIL deals and did get out over their skis. And then two, I think you've got some freshmen who didn't get an NIL deal and are seeking an NIL deal and maybe are going to be disappointed with where things are over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I think this is the uncertainty of NIL. And this is where the adjustment has to be made. I don't know when it'll happen, but this is at some point there's going to have to be not slotting, but there's going to have to be a little better parameters in there right now, because there's a lot of people going to that portal thinking they're going to get big money, and I think a lot of them are going to be disappointed in the lack of money that's available to them.
I bet 75 to 80%, if not more, of the kids are going to be disappointed. Because we know what it looks like on the ground. We talk to people, and what some kids and their families think are out there is just not even close to being realistic.
Well, again, I think most people think that Tennessee's got $25 million because, Hunter Badura did the article at The Athletic and said that was their goal. They scratch out the word goal, right? They don't. I think a lot of these schools, look at Texas A&M flooding out of there, Oregon flooding out of there. I think that what you're finding out is these schools are also having trouble paying some kids, which is why you see a lot of defections, in my opinion, after 1 year of in the program.
Let's move on here to Vol Star 88. You had 2 running backs at the transfer portal, and Justin Williams-Thomas and Laneith Whitehead. Tennessee's still going to be looking for a running back in the portal. Austin Price, you have one, maybe 2 current commits who can play running back. Yeah,
I'm not so sure they do. Again, if the right guy went in the portal and Tennessee had a shot to get him, then absolutely. But I'm just not so sure that Tennessee will be playing. I think they have other more pressing needs than running back, and so right now I would say no. Again, all that's depending on the right guy could go in the portal tomorrow and pique Tennessee's interest. But I don't think there's anybody in there right now that piques Tennessee's interest.
And that's the one position where you're just not seeing a flood of guys going in, high quality guys going into the transfer portal. Those guys are in such a hurry to get to the league. And if they neutralize and don't have to take all the carries, some of those guys are okay with that because they don't want their legs wore out. You're just not seeing a bunch of high quality, highly productive running backs go in that's going to wow people, in terms of landing them in the transfer portal. I don't think. Now we'll see. Something may happen post bowl game, but you're just not seeing a lot of that right now.
It's amazing to me how little value the running back position has now at the NFL. It's incredible, and that's changed in the last 10 years, guys. It used
which
to
is
be
why
everything.
They've got to get to the second contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one position in the NFL you got to get to your second contract more than any. Because if you're productive as an unheralded guy and you get to that second contract, then you get money.
Alvin Kamara says hello.
Kamara is a great example of that. Exactly.
Derrick Henry, not a first-round pick.
Yep,
and got paid.
True, you're exactly right. But how many are there's not many of those guys.
No.
Yeah.
No, because the NFL's can take a fourth-round guy and turn him into something, and then if that guy wants big money, they'll let him walk and go get another fourth-round guy and feel like they can develop because it's such a passing game now.
It's kind of funny too because both of those contracts now look kind of, this is from Vulcan. Does NIL money, like for Hyatt, for example, help keep some kids in college a year longer when they could be going to the NFL draft as first or second rounders? I would say if you're a first or second rounder, heck no. But
No.
maybe on the back end, guys, more so than in years past, NIL money could help keep a guy here for another year longer.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think your guaranteed money when you're drafted, like the guaranteed money of a first round of the first pick of the third round is over $1 million. So, then you just have to start weighing, like, is this kid worth close to that in NIL to get him to come back for another year? And does the kid go, well, I mean, if apples are to apples, I just might as well go ahead and get my clock started trying to get to that same contract, as Hubs would say. So, like, I think, the feedback that they get determines a lot of it, because I think ultimately, it's the money is pretty steep until you fall into that late, mid to fourth to past that.
Yeah, and we're just not gonna see multiple guys on college teams with 7-figure deals.
No,
It's not what it's gonna be.
I may be in the minority. I mean, if I'm a 6th or 7th rounder, and I mean, like, for sure a 6th or 7th rounder, then I'm gone. I mean, I don't have to worry about going to class anymore. I don't have to worry about going to the Thornton Center anymore. I don't have to worry about all this NCAA rules or anything. I'm just playing football, and that's my job. I think that's a part that people don't think about. Is you don't have to live within this framework of the college rules, NCAA rules. You can go be a pro, and I have a heart like you said, Hubbard. I don't think there's $1 million out there for a lot of guys who are going to be a 6th round pick.
All right, we're going to get a couple more here. Vols by 1998 says, Happy Wednesday, Eric. Appreciate that. Let's go to Reltney for life. Will Arian Carter announce something before signing day, or will he make his announcement then? AP, it's going to be an all-star announcement, correct?
It will be an announcement at the U.S. Army All-American game. And so
But his plan is to sign on signing day.
those
are hard. Those are hard to keep quiet. So we'll see.
Good luck,
It
Arian.
is. I mean, if he signs with Alabama, I'm not going to ruin the kid's moment, but I'm also going to
Somebody will
not build up the suspense for it. If he signs with Tennessee, Alabama's people are probably not going to ruin the kid's moment, but they're going to shoot down getting your hopes up for it. You're going to know before he ever gets to the Army game. I agree. It's kind of a blow, because ultimately the team that he doesn't sign with is going to go, didn't sign with us. And, then that's how it'll go down, in my opinion. I also think there's a chance that he could decide to take part in bowl practice, prepping for the Sugar Bowl or for the Orange Bowl, which is also an option.
But I mean, he had to be signed, sealed, delivered, and that has to be public.
No,
correct?
you go to bowl practice before you sign. He can just show up at bowl practice, then you know where he's going to go to school.
I guess I never thought of it that way. That's
Because
weird.
Tennessee's 14 midterm enrollees coming in for bowl practice.
You're right.
We'll be here about the 15th. We'll be here about the 15th.
That is weird. That is so weird.
Spectacular is what it is.
Are the games with Nebraska in 26 and 27 still on the agenda, Brent?
Yeah, at this point they are. I mean, you never know when the SEC finally rolls out their model, what it looks like, what they're going to require. What does that look like in terms of league scheduling and all those things? How does everybody adjust? But as of now, yes.
Okay. And we're going to end on this one. We're going to skip Rob Lewis's favorite question in here. We won't ask that one, but let's go to Austin's favorite question in here to end things. What are the percentages we get the following players?
Oh,
Carter,
AP, this
Davis,
is your world.
And Larry Johnson.
Davis, I'll go 60%. Carter, I'll go 55%. And Larry Johnson, not applicable. I don't think it, because you don't know until they get him in here and he hangs out. I mean, I just don't think you know yet on him.
You'll have a better understanding after the weekend of the 16th, 17th.
Yeah,
I'm
disappointed. No decimal point percentages in there, Austin. But that's
I am too a little bit.
I mean, you had an opportunity, but oh well. You're working on your gift game instead.
He's down there on Amazon the entire time. I don't even know if he's paying attention. He's down here looking at his phone, just
I'm out
typing
there
away.
crying wolf. No, I've got people asking for the Volquest logo.
Oh, there's a clearance sale on Peter Millar.
I'm trying. No, there's not right now, but after the first of the year, there will be. That's when you advocate to hold out, wait for it to go 50% off, and then splurge.
Our Volquest Millar gear is going to be like 30% off by the time we get it, right?
Buddy, trust me. I've been on my guy, and he's working on it. What it boils down to is they left off the with Eric Kane on the back part of the logo, and that's what we've been waiting on.
The reality is I might have put a stop payment on that check for the gear, so there's no telling what happened to
you
that
didn't
gear.
send a check yet. You're so silly.
It's going to be slow because it's going to be through the mail for sure. All right. That'll be it here for this edition of the Volquest Mailbag Podcast every Thursday here at Volquest.com. Appreciate all the questions. We got to as many as we possibly could, so thank you for all those. Keep sending them in. Don't forget, $10 subscription to Volquest.com. It's from now until 2023, but don't wait until kickoff 2023. Go ahead and get it now for Christmas, a late Christmas edition for a stocking stuffer or whatever.
You need a dirty Santa gift? I'm sure they'll love Hump Day, the Hump Day threads on the GQ.
That's your teaser to get them over here to Volquest.com. For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, I am Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday for the Volquest Podcast.